Instant replay on that.
Instant replay. And there he is, slow motion, going up in the air, looking good, collapsing, and down on his. Instant replay is a pretty awesome capability of the YoloLive YoloBox Extreme. And actually, other models of the YoloBox also have replay capability, but to a limited degree depending on the model. So I've written the differences in the description down below if you want to know what those are. This video is a complete tutorial of how replay on the YoloBox Extreme works, including all of its features as of version 2.0 of the YoloBox operating system. Before we dive in though, I want to know from you what you would use replay for. If you're watching this, I assume it's because you think you'd use replay at some point, and I'd love to hear why. Is it high school football, minor league baseball, gymnastics? I assume most will be sports, but again, I'd love to know. So before you even watch this, drop a comment and let me know. Okay, some housekeeping. First, I've got my YoloBox set up to 1080p 30 for this demo. That's 1920 by 1080 or full HD at 29.97 frames per second, because according to YoloLive, that's what most people who are doing sports and replay stream at. And to keep things from scaling and shifting frame rates in this YouTube video, the entire video is being published at 1080p 30, which is a big departure from my normal 4K 25. It is what it is. Also, that's not to say that you can't do replay in 4K. You most certainly can. However, as you saw in the previous YoloBox video, you saw that, right? Where I pushed the Extreme to its limits in 4K? No? Okay, well, I'll link to that one at the end so you can catch up. But anyway, in that video, you saw how far we could push 4K. But since most people are streaming sports in 1080, and the box can do more in 1080 than it can in 4K, that's what we're doing this tutorial in. I'm going to show you how to get the absolute best slow motion replay playback. It's one of those things that you might think, gosh, it'd be great if the YoloBox could do that, but it probably doesn't. But it turns out that it does. So if you want silky smooth slow motion replay, you'll want to stick around for that. And finally, if you do decide to buy a YoloBox Extreme after watching this video, do me a favor and use my affiliate links down below. It costs you nothing and it helps to keep me in the YouTube business. Also, those links are global. The Amazon link should take you to your Amazon store. All right, let's get started. There's a lot of settings in the YoloBox to go through, so we're just going to go through them line by line, and as something needs an actual demonstration, I'm going to give it to you. So here we go. The replay settings are all right here. That's where you're going to find everything you need, and at first glance, there's not a whole lot in here, but you'll see that there's the replay toggle on and off at the top, and then the replay settings, which is of course what we're about to dive into, the replay video speed, and it says replay list with some tags on there. There's nothing in this list because we haven't recorded any replays yet, but as we record them, that's where they're going to be. And we'll talk about the tags in a little bit. So I'll tap on replay settings and we can see all the different options that we have in here. And there's a bunch. So let's go through them. Again, replay toggling on and off. We'll leave it off for now. And the next line is selected replay source. So this is what inputs you are going to use for replay. You can choose as many as you want, up to the capabilities of the device. And honestly, when it comes to 1080p, you're just going to have to test it and see how far you can push it. Odds are you can do as many replay streams as you need. So from here, you can see the list of all the different HDMI inputs, and those correspond with the inputs over on the left. If I toggle out of here, you'll see that we've got a few different things set up. I've got a clock, which I'm actually going to be using for a lot of this demonstration because it just makes it really clear and easy to see as something replays. Then I've got a wide scene that we're going to be using at the end. We've got a shot of me here, and we've got just the camera pointing outside. Going into the selection area, you can see that I can select the ones that I want, and I'm going to go ahead and just enable HDMI 7. That is the one that's the clock, so that's the only thing I need right now. But if I wanted more of them, you'll see that as I tap additional ones, it adds them to the list, and it puts a number next to each one. So replay source 1, 2, and 3. And if I don't know, let's say I wanted 7 to be the last one, I could just turn it off and back on again, and then you can see that the numbers change. But again, for now, I'll just leave it at HDMI 7 as the only one. Next option is replay button display. Is it always displayed or is it only displayed when enabled? The default is always display, and you can see up kind of in the top middle of the screen, it says replay. I don't like having it always on because here's what happens. Replay is not currently enabled, right? If we look at the box, it's turned off. The replay button is there. So I hit the replay button and nothing happens. Well, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, it says please enable replay first. But when my hand is up here, I don't see that. So I'm like, why isn't replay working? Oh, I covered the thing that says please enable replay first. So to avoid that problem, By going into here and setting it to display when enabled, meaning display only when it's enabled, now you see the replay button is gone. But as soon as I enable replay, now the replay button shows up, and so it's working. So that's just what I advise. It's how I like to work. I'll go ahead and turn it back off for now. Then underneath that, we have the replay video duration. How long do you want the replay to be? The default is 10 seconds. I've set it to 5 for this demonstration, but you can set it as high as you want. I can drag this up to 60 seconds or down to a single second. And you have a little plus or minus here to set it in exact 1 second increments. Again, for this demo, I'm going to leave it at 5 seconds, but you set that to whatever you need. You can go in and change this during the live show. It is an extra tap to get into it, but let me show you. If I enable replay, I can still go in here and change the timing on that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave replay running now. And at this point, we're going to be able to see what things we can and can't change while replay is working. And you'll find that you can change most of the things while replay is active, which is great. Next up, show in and out mark function button. So again, by default, the replay is set to whatever duration you've chosen, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you want. However, you can set an in and out button so that while the action is happening, you know something is about to happen, and it gives you like a 1 second buffer. So something started, you're quick, you hit that in button, and then whatever you're going to replay is happening, and when it's done, you hit the out, and that will mark that duration of the shot for the replay. So you get this kind of real time, mark it in, mark it out, and then that saves it for replay, which is really, really powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that. And then I want to show you the difference between using the regular replay and using the in and out. So I'll back out of here. Replay is currently still running. You see my replay video speed is set to 100%. I'm just going to leave it for there for now. And I'm going to tap the replay button when it hits 12 o'clock. There we go, hit replay. It says it's been generated. Do I want to play it now or use later? We'll come back to this later on. I'll hit play now. We'll see the clock backs up and plays through the time that I had set. So that played that 10 seconds that it was currently set to for the replay. But now let's do the in and out. So let's see, as soon as the second hand hits the 7, I'm going to hit the in, there we go. And then we're watching and something happens, and then 4 seconds, 5 seconds later, the action is done. I hit the out button. Replay's been generated. Let's play that now. And now it plays back just that portion that I had marked. So a really convenient way to quickly get just the portion of the show that you want, as opposed to always having to default to a 5 second or 10 second duration. So again, this is up to you if you want to use that or not, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that enabled. Back into the replay settings. The next option is show play last function button. This is just another button that comes up that will automatically replay the last replay. So if you are in a situation where you're often doing the same thing over again, you play a replay and then you want to play it again, maybe let's watch it and then let's watch it again and talk about it, you can have that replay button sitting there. So again, up in the top right of the display, you can see that it has the replay that we saw before and then a new previous replay button. So if I was to tap that now, it's going to play that previous replay, that 7 to 8-ish mark. Nice. So again, just more options. And if you don't want those options, you can turn them off to clean up the interface and not have buttons that you might accidentally press that you may not want to have. Below that, you'll see replay tags. It says tag 1 right now. I can rename that. And the whole point of this is to be able to tag a replay that you've saved with whatever the action might be. So let's say we're watching football or soccer for my North American audience. We'll go in here and I'll type in, let's say, pass. And we'll hit done on there, and then I'll add another tag, and I'll rename that one, and we'll call that one goal. And now, if I go back to the replay scene, you'll see that R3 and R2, so that's replay 3 and replay 2 that are saved there for me, have the little tag icon. So I can say, well, that one was a goal and that one was a pass. So now not only do I have those tagged, I can filter by tags. So at the end of a match or, I don't know, halftime or whatever, let's take a look at all the goals again. I can go up here to the replay list filter, tap on goal, and I'm only going to see the goals in there. So the ability to categorize them can be certainly very, very handy when you've got a lot of things going on and it may not be so obvious from the thumbnail what it was that you had captured a replay for. Back into the replay settings. Underneath tags, you'll see the replay audio. You can simply turn it off if you want to so that when you do replay, the audio from that is silent, which is probably going to be the most common if you're going to be talking over the replay, explaining the action, what's happening. Or you can have it play it back, but at a lower volume. So I'll say, go ahead and turn it on, but let's just play it at like 25-ish dB lower. So the audio's there, it's a bit quieter, so I can still hear the crowd or whatever, but now it's not so loud that we can't hear me talking over it. Kind of a nice idea. Following along with that, I'm actually going to skip forward one to mute other audio sources during replay. So this way, if you don't want to hear any commentary or any other cameras or anything else that you might have audio enabled for, you only want to hear that replay angle. By toggling that, you're only going to hear that one. So the two different options that you have for audio in here. Let's go back up to the one that I skipped, replay encoding settings. You'll see it says 1080p, 5994, 8 megabits, H.264. And if I tap on that, it takes me over to the recording page. Now this is something that I can't change while it's on. You'll see that the top portion of this interface is the stream encoding settings. The bottom portion is record encoding. I can't change it because I'm actively recording. So let's go back to replay and turn off replay. And now go back into the recording settings, and now I can change it. Now here's where we're gonna get a first hint of how we get that super smooth slow motion playback. Remember I said that I've got this set up at 1080p, 30 frames per second, or 29.97 frames per second. But look at this. I've got my recording set to 5994. Well, that's because every camera that I'm feeding into here is actually coming in at 1080p 60. I'm getting 60 frames per second. But I'm only live streaming at 1080p 30. So as far as the live stream is concerned, the YoloBox is just going to drop every other frame. It's going to throw away every other frame, every extra frame that it doesn't need. But the recording will be all 60 frames, which means when I play back my video in slow motion, we get full 60 frame on a 30p timeline playback. We get half speed slow motion, butter smooth. Next up is replay mode preferences. And right now it says always ask. So you don't want to hit that replay button and it popped up a thing. Do you want to play now or do you want to play later? This is what that setting is. So there's three choices. You can use always play now, always use later, or always ask. So the idea is when I hit that replay button, do I just want it to immediately replay that video? Or am I queuing this up to play later? I'm capturing a bunch of moments and then at the next break, then I'm gonna go through and play the replays. So totally up to you. And if you are doing a mix of things, then you can have it ask. Scrolling down farther, show replay logo on the program, meaning when you are doing a replay, do you want some badge on screen that indicates that this is a replay? And there's a lot of badges built in, or you can make your own. Let's take a look at the built-in ones. I'll tap on the edit button here and you'll see there's a wide variety. I've got different replay buttons here that kind of, some of them may blend into the background. Some of them may stand out a little bit more. So you probably want to play with those. You can change the size of that by dragging the scale, and you can reposition it by just tapping and dragging it around on the scene. And you can always restore the default with that button here. So I'm going to choose this one because it's a bit more obvious and it's going to work better for some of the stuff I'm going to play later. And let's make that nice and big up in the corner. Then finally, we get to the intros and outros. Now, straight up, this feature doesn't work as well as it could. They know that there's room for improvement here. You'll understand what I mean in a moment. It's a work in progress, but it's really cool that we have it. Let me show you. So first of all, intro, outro. With this turned on, I can choose an intro piece and an outro piece for the video. So first, let's just look at how they're made. All this is a video clip against a green background. And there's a bunch of different selections in here. You can see what they look like. And you're effectively keying it out. If I turn on enable chroma key, then you can see what that would look like without the green. And that green, that chroma key can be adjusted. You have a similarity and smoothness slider so that you can dial that in and get it just perfect for whatever background you have in here. And you can create your own backgrounds, which is a really, really cool part of this. But here's what makes it not perfect yet. Let's go back to this arrow. If you've ever looked at a stinger before, you know that the live video should be replaced by the replay using that animation. So if you just imagine a line going across the screen, right now you're looking at live, the line goes across, and as it passes, this becomes the replay. That's what it's supposed to do. This doesn't do that yet. The animation plays, and then after the animation, then it plays the replay. So one like this doesn't really work. And if I go out of here and go to a different view, let's go to this camera angle. So we're looking at this one, and I activate the replay, you'll see what happens. You'll see that the key comes in and then it switches over. So that is not ideal. In fact, all of their animations they built into here all kind of work that way. They look like they should, but they don't. So what I would recommend if you're going to do this is do your own animation, and it can build in. And I'm going to show you how to do this in the next section. It can build in, but don't have it build out. Just build in and end, and then it will play the replay. This will make more sense in a moment when I show it to you, which is now. All right, let's see how to build a stinger with the limitations that we have in mind. You don't have to use any fancy animation software to do this. You could use After Effects or maybe do something in Fusion and Resolve, but you can just use Photoshop, or as I'm gonna do, use Affinity Photo. Watch. Here's the basic premise. I've got this green fill in the background and then these colored stripes. And what I really want to do is basically animate these across the scene. And every time it moves, it reveals more and more of the replay on this side and the program over here. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way yet. They're working on it. But for now, to really make this look good, you need to not have it reveal. So what I did with this animation, instead of moving this over and having something reveal, is I effectively just stretched this out. So I went from here to here to here to here and so on. And each time I grew that out, I just went in and exported out a PNG file. And if we look at the desktop now, we'll see what that looks like. So there's the basic premise of it, right? Those colored stripes just grow bigger and bigger and bigger until they fill. And then at the end, it just disappears. So that is how I built the animation. But that's just a bunch of still files. How do I actually make the animation? Well, you could bring the stills into a video editor if you wanted to, but if you're a Mac user, Windows, I'm sure there's something equivalently easy. But as a Mac user, you can just use QuickTime Player to assemble the stills. Watch this. I'll open QuickTime Player and go to the File menu and choose Open Image Sequence. Navigate to that folder on the desktop and choose the media. And it says up here, what resolution? Actual size or resize it. I generated these at the correct size, which I definitely recommend you do. So I'll leave it at actual. Choose my frame rate of this. This is a 2997 project. And encode for H.264, HEVC, or ProRes. H.264 or HEVC will work. ProRes will not, so don't do that. I'll just do H.264, open, and there's the video file. That's it. Nice and simple. So now we'll go ahead and save this. Stick that on the desktop. We'll just call that Stinger 2. And now to get this over to the YoloBox, I can either use the built-in SD card slot, just pop an SD card in back and forth, or a USB drive. I've already got one connected, so I'll just go ahead and unplug that, plug this in over here, and let's copy that Stinger into place. Eject that. Plug that back in here. Go to the plus menu, switch over to the USB drive, find that Stinger, and we'll have to edit it. So tap into it and choose edit because by default, it's not going to have the key applied to it. Enable the chroma key. And now I have something that looks a lot better. So now if I do a transition from this scene to whatever is loaded up next, I'll hit replay. And that's what it looks like. Now you've got that clean transition without the doubling up of footage at the end. After shooting all this and editing it, I realized I never put all of this together into one final demo before we get into the slow motion bit. So let me do that right now. Everything you've seen now all coming together, not just for replay, but for multicam replay, which is a pretty important part of this. So let's just go through the settings real quick. First, let's take a look at the selected sources. So I had HDMI 7, which is just the clock. I'm now going to add in 6 and 5 in here. So I go into my replay source and we'll start with 7 and just add them 6 and 5. Okay, so those are now all set to record. The replay duration, I'll leave it 5 seconds. I'm actually going to use the in and out for this. And let's see, I don't need the show play last button. I'm not going to use the tags. Replay audio is currently off. The encoding settings are 1080p 5994. I'll mute the other audio. Replay logo is set and the intro and outros are set. So everything is ready to go. All I got to do is turn on replay so it actually starts recording. Okay, so now I'm ready to go. You can see I've got a few in here already, but we're just going to make a brand new one. So I will, let's say the action is about to happen and we hit the end and I point at that camera and then I spin around and I point at that camera and then I spin back to that camera again and we're done. And you hit the out and that is just save that. Now I also had it set to play later. So you notice it didn't prompt me. It's not asking me what to do. It is just saved that. So we'll just do another one now. So, well, again, in and first we're going over to this camera, then we're going to this camera and then back. And then back again, and then the action's done, and we hit out. Okay, so we've got 2 replays now queued up and ready to go. If we look at the list, we can see they're labeled as R7 and R8, and you'll notice that they say play selected or play all. So this is the first thing to notice here. I don't have to play all 3 camera angles. In this case, I look at this and I go, ooh, HDMI 7, that's the clock. It's not so interesting, so I'll just take that one out. With that one taken out, now when I tap on play selected, it's just going to play HDMI 6 and HDMI 5, so these 2 cameras. So let's do it. We're at the halftime, we're at the break, whatever, it's time to do a replay. Let's hit the play selected and it rolls in. We see the first one, spins around, points back, and Then it's going to cut to the second angle automatically, and we're going to see the same replay again from a different angle. Now we can even take it a step further and combine multiple replays all in one sequence by utilizing the tags. So remember the tags I'd set up as pass and goal. So let's just say that both of these two that I just recorded were considered a goal. So I'm going to tag those as goal. There we go, that one and that one. So R8 and R7 are both tagged as goal. Now notice here, R8 it has its own selections and own play selected or play all. However, when I go into the filters, so let's go ahead and filter by goals, now they're all grouped together. So I can say, you know what, I want to see, let's see, we'll see that first goal from that angle and the second goal from that angle. So you see there's R7, the middle camera selected, R8, the third camera selected, and then at the top, there's a play selected button. So when I tap that now, it plays through and we're going to see one of the goals, one of the actions that happens. There's that spin around sequence. And then we're going to see from the other camera angle, a totally different event where I didn't do the spin around. And we see that event. So that's a really, really powerful way to do this. You have multi-camera replay. You have multi-replay. You can take any section from any segment, mix them all together by utilizing those tags and quickly and easily sort them out to play back just what you want. That's pretty cool. Now, let's do something a bit more interesting. I asked my buddy Chris to come in here and do some skateboard tricks on camera so we can see what that looks like playing back in slow-mo. I'm sure he'll be here soon. All right, well, Chris is in the house, as you can undoubtedly hear. He's going to do a couple of kick flip ollies.
Technically heel flip.
Technically a heel flip, he said. We're going to try not to bring the house down, and I'm going to try and get a couple of replays in. So let's just see how it goes. So we're ready to go. I know you've been bouncing around, but you just do your thing, baby.
Instant replay on that.
Instant replay. And there he is, slow motion, going up in the air, looking good, collapsing, and down on his ass. So I think that's a good way we do it. We just keep watching him do his thing, and then once he nails it, that's the replay.
Then when he finally lands something,
that's the replay. Nice replay. Oh yeah, that looks great. That's too cool. Should we do another one?
okay, yeah, why not?
Let's do another one. Go
See
for
if
it.
we can do a kickflip.
All right. That was good. Replay. I love it. You want to come say? Ah.
Ciao.
I think we're done. Want to come say hi and tell these people where to get a drink at your bar? Come closer. Focus is here. Not that close.
Okay. Here's a bar called Brew Pub. They have good coffee. They have good beer, from what I heard.
From what you've heard.
From what I've heard.
He might own it.
I also kind of might own it.
He also kind of might own it. All right. Come to Motherboard. Have a beer and a coffee at his place. Come for the coffee, stay for the beer.
And if there's a skateboard there, do a kickflip.
There you go. All right. Thanks, buddy. I think we got this. So that's how replay works on the YoloBox Extreme. Gotta get him out of here before he tears the place up. Cutting.